Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of our lighting restoration segment. So on the previous video, we just went through the rebuild process on our corner lights only. This video is going to cover just the headlights and everything involved to get these back to new condition. We're going to go over some different lenses you can use. There's quite a bit of different lenses available on the market. Some that are really nice, some you probably want to stay away from. Also some different lighting options for sealed beam versus conversion lighting. This version over here is something we're going to go with. This is a version that looks really nice and acceptable. We're not going to go with this one, but I'll show you the difference, what they look like in comparison. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll break these down piece by piece and then take them outside and put them on.
Let's take a look at our lenses first and see what's going on with them. So these things here really have just driven me crazy for the last 4 years, trying to find something that would be really nice and real close to the original look that they had 50 years ago. So the quality of lighting has changed quite a bit over time, and it doesn't seem like it's going in the right direction as far as the quality goes. The glass that they were using back in those days was a lot more pure, a lot more transparent, and it was just a lot crisper. Glass that's being used today seems like everything's being made out of recycled glass. A little bit more milky and not quite as shiny, and just doesn't have quite the quality look that they had in those days. One thing I had for comparison was my original lens before I tried to restore this, and I was actually having some success on this to some degree until I got to the cut and polish on it. So I thought the clear coat worked so well on my plastic lenses that I went ahead and tried it on my headlights to try and bring those back to life, because the lenses available when I did this were just terrible. But you can see as I started to cut and polish on there, it just doesn't stick to the glass. So clear coat will stick to your plastic, but it won't stick to the glass, so there's just not much you can do. Now the Hella lens that I have here, this is recent. This is a new type lens. I'm not sure when this one came to market, but this one's sold through Stoddard. And this one here is absolutely gorgeous. It's flawless. The glass clarity is exactly what you want. Also, the detail in the Hella markings, everything is raised lettering. The genuine Porsche Hella that they sell from Porsche is raised lettering on the inside and not the outside. And I had so many problems trying to get a nice set from them over the years. I sent all of them back. I lost count how many sets I bought. Got them in here, looked at them, and just sent them back. They were just awful. The problem was there's a lot of waves in the glass. I don't have a set here to show you. I wish I did. But they had manufacturing bubbles in the center. They had scratch marks in the center where they tried to sand the bubbles out. The clarity of the glass, really milky. Looked like they were made up with recycled glass. Just really not up to real quality genuine Porsche specs, I thought, so I just didn't go with them. So I was having such terrible luck with the genuine Hella from Porsche, I decided, well, what could be wrong with the generic brand? Maybe it's a better quality glass, maybe things will be better on that one, so I'll get a set in here and look at them and compare, and maybe by chance they actually be clearer and a cleaner glass, but that turned out to be not the case. Let's look at this one up close. I'll show you what you'll get with a generic glass. All right, let me try and hold this up in some kind of lighting here where you can see what I'm talking about. So you can see the waves in there, and then also look at all the specks and chips and imperfections in the glass, and sanding marks and grain to it, all kinds of things going on. It's just so busy with imperfections that it's hard to appreciate any kind of glass quality that would be going on with that. Also, look at the edging. Look how rough the edge is. The edge is so rough on that. When I put the glass to housing seal on there, it actually punched holes in the seal, so now I can't even reuse those seals. Yeah, really just not worth going with these at all. But it was worth a try. Now let's take a look at this one from Stoddard. You see how everything's just smooth. You don't really have much distortion in there. It's not full of imperfections. Yeah, really clean and smooth details. This is basically what we want when we're trying to restore something, put all this work into it. Also, look at the edge on this one. That's the way it should look. And put a seal on there, we won't have any problem at all. And then the other big dilemma with these early lights is the bulbs. What are we going to use for bulbs to look genuine and time period correct? There's only so many new old stock 7-inch bulbs available on the market. Most of the restoration guys over the past few years have just snapped all those up. So it's very hard to find a basic 12-volt bulb that's got a real nice face to it. It doesn't have any rock chips in there. And the glass also on those in those days was a lot purer, a lot sharper, and a lot cleaner to look at than the new ones you buy. They're inexpensive, but you put them side by side. I don't have a set because I sent them back, but they're terrible. You can't even see through them. You can't even see the mirror inside the back. The glass is just so muddy. This is a bulb that was in the lighting when I got the car, and if you find these old lights on eBay, let's say you're looking for a set of new old stock or something that's really well preserved, the best ones are going to be the ones that were sitting behind a glass lens, so no rock chips in them. The only problem is finding a match set, so my particular set didn't match, so I couldn't use them. Otherwise I would have used them. The light that's in this particular setup here looks like this one here. It looks like a real high quality sealed beam light, and when I bought these, the advertisement was for 12-volt sealed beam lights, and these look like a real nice quality light from the advertisement, so I got them in, and yeah, they look real nice. These were Westinghouse, but unfortunately they're 6-volt, so not able to use them. But a real nice looking quality set, probably the nicest looking set I've been able to find that's new reproductions. So the choice I ended up going with was a conversion set. This is a halogen conversion, and I like this one here because it has a real nice Hella stamp in there, which is very cool to look at. And it does look somewhat time period correct for an older lens. Some of them are pretty way out there to look at. This one here has a real 1960s look to it, so I decided to go with that. And it never hurts to be safer anyways. Brighter light is going to be safer to drive with than these old dim 12 volts. So this light here, real nice quality light. This is a part number on that, and most of your suppliers carry this one. So the other thing we'll need to address is the chrome trim ring on these. This is the original one, and I decided not to send my original set in to get re-chromed, even though Advanced Plating does a really nice job with their repairs and quality of chrome. I just didn't think it was worth it. These had so many dents in it, and anytime you're trying to repair a complex radius with that many dents, you're just better off. If they have a replacement trim piece that you can acquire, it's better usually to go with that. So what I ended up going with was an aftermarket high quality reproduction set. I purchased these from Aussie Sales, and just a real beautiful quality. They're solid brass, chrome plated, and beautiful chrome on there. Real nice shape, no imperfections in there. Just a real high quality set. So if you're looking for a set of chrome trim rings that you don't want to be disappointed with, I'd recommend these ones from Aussie Sales. So while we have two complete setups sitting side by side, let's just take a look and compare side by side and see what a good quality lens looks like as opposed to a mediocre quality lens. Even the lines in the top here are just real rough and crude, and a little bit longer in length to look at than the Hella lens here. Much smoother, much cleaner to look at. Also the clarity on the glass. You can see right into that bulb with our Hella. And then this one here, you can see everything's starting to distort as we're going across. It's not bad, but it's definitely not great. And honestly, the price on these from Stoddard, really not bad, guys. I would definitely recommend checking those out. Alright, so first thing we need to do before we go ahead and assemble everything is we want to check for a couple things now that we have paint on the car. So things are going to change a little bit since our mock-up stage. What we want to check for is if our chrome trim ring and seal work together back on a finished paint situation. And then also we want to draw up our set screw and check and see how that draws up. We want to run a tap down through our hole there, clean those threads out, and just make sure everything's going to seat. Alright, let's see if I can explain what's happening here and what we got to do to fix it. So this worked in mock-up stage only because I didn't have the thickness of paint built up on the inside of our bucket. So what's happening now is we have so much paint compressing against this area here that when I try to seat this flange behind this lip, it's not going to go. It's a little bit tight. So what I'm going to have to do is take a Dremel and just trim the edge off this ever so slightly from about here to here, following that black line all the way around. I'm going to take this cutter and just cut very carefully. Alright, so that's basically all we're taking off there, but hopefully that makes the difference between seating and not seating. Okay, now we're behind that lip. You can see it's just tucking in there, and also our screws drawing up there and tucking in on this side also. Just one of those things with restoration. If you don't check it, it's probably not going to fit. So whatever it takes, whatever you got to do, you just got to do it. So first thing we're going to do is put our new seal on. Here's our part number for that. And the grooved outside will go to the inside of our glass, just like that. And that's how it fits. And then next, lean face down on a bench in a soft cloth. Tape is very helpful on our assembly here. This is what I do just to kind of hold it all together. I stick some cardboard shims in there so we don't have any paint rubbing. And then before we close it up, we just want to make sure that the inside of the lens has been cleaned, waxed, and free of debris and fingerprints. And then drop our assembly in, sitting down on top of it gently, right about there. And then our Vision Plus has a little drain hole in the bottom. I'm just marking that with a B so I can see when I assemble it. And then these retainers with these tabs, this is a patterned retainer, so there's a definite order this has to sit in place. I've already sorted that out, and the X goes towards our bottom. These little tabs will just sit right down in that slot. And then gently rolling it over and just checking the front to make sure your tabs are seated and the light is where it needs to be. So I think we're good here. Just checking to make sure we're seated down on our rubber seal. Everything's in the right position before we put our clips in there. I think we're in pretty good shape there. And then our clips on the large part here, there's a couple ways they can go in that will work, but only really one of them is correct. So this little indent here needs to sit on the shoulder. Large part in first, and then clip under there. And the idea is that it shoulders this edge here. Otherwise it won't have the right amount of hold down pressure to seat the face. And then next we'll put our adjustment screws in there. So these are the correct adjustment screws. They're chrome plated brass with a slot, not a Phillips. And they come with some nylon washers. You know, the idea is that you have that going on, but I'm not going to use those. I don't really like the way they finish out. So under the head, I'm just going to use a little bit of anti-seize paste right under the head here, and then seat it with that. It'll look a lot cleaner and be very forgiving on the chrome. So we just have two adjustment screws. We got one here, one on the other side, and you may or may not have a rubber retainer with yours. Mine didn't come with a retainer, so I'm just going to use a piece of shrink tubing. So I've got like a cone washer. Going to go on top. Just a dab of anti-seize paste. Then we can pull our cardboard and tape, and we are ready to install. So one thing I'm discovering here is we're trying to bring the adjustment into ballpark range. If we don't have something to retain the adjustment screw, that shrink tubing is not going to be strong enough to hold it. So what's going to happen is when we adjust it, this screw here is going to back itself out. So we really need to have slight pressure to hold that in place. It still needs to turn around. It doesn't have to be tight. Tight won't work, but we'll need some kind of retainer to stop that from backing out on both screws. Well, that definitely seems to work a lot better. So I'm just drawing down that nut until it stops up against that cone. No slack in that screw at all. So you want it to be able to turn, but you don't want it backing out or have any wiggle space in there. If you have any wiggle space, what's going to happen then is the light is going to move around inside your housing. And then double checking our wiring diagram before we plug everything in. So here's our headlights. So notice 56B, 31, and 56A is going to be the same on both sides. So as we plug into our block here, that's going to be the color. So white is on 56A, yellow 56B, and ground is on 31, and that's going to be the same on both buckets. Making sure our seal is installed correctly. And it looks like this sliver here, a sharp edge, that's going to go inwards like that. Okay, so then I'm running into one more issue trying to adjust out our headlights into ballpark range. You can see that rubbing there. What's happening is I'm actually rubbing tabs now. And this was fine in mock-up stage, but some things have changed now. So we got paint on the car. We're using different bulbs in there than mock-up, different screws. So something's changed just enough where we're going to have to do something about it. I'm going to have to cut those tabs out, or I'm pretty much not going to be able to adjust those headlights. So at the time of purchasing this bucket here, replaced this, this particular bucket was the only one available to me at that time. So if you're building a car with early style headlights and later style headlight buckets, you'll definitely have to trim those tabs, or you could run into this issue after finished paint. Well, there you go. Right there is a very good example of the importance of early mock-ups. You can never be too thorough, and sometimes you still slip through the cracks. All right, let's clean this mess up and move on. So these lights do come with a seal, but we can't use it because it's hitting the back of the bucket. So just a little bit tight in there. So I think we're in ballpark range now. I'm going to take this bottom set screw and just run it in. I'm finding that it's going to work better without the rubber retainer. And I'm just going to set it until we get through troubleshooting. Once we completely get through all troubleshooting on the car and everything adjusts out, I'll then pull the screw out, Loctite it, and run it back in. And there's our finished look. Well, guys, if you're working on lighting, I wish you the best of luck. Just like our dashboard, I'm going to say the degree of difficulty working on these lights, get everything dialed in and settled in, is at least a 10. German engineering is definitely not forgiving. Everything is just so tight. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.